In this crazy world, it's so hard to unwind. So I'm taking time just for me. Gonna find my peace, let my soul be free. In the quiet moments, that's where I'll find a little room to breathe, leave it all behind. Give me room to breathe, I need some time to heal my heart, to clear my mind. Gonna love myself, yeah, I believe in the power of me. Just give me room to breathe.
Great new day to all my self-care family and friends. Welcome back to another Room to Breathe podcast. I'm your host, Life Coach 614, and I am so happy that you've made space to be here with us today. Now, before we get into this episode, do me a quick favor. If you're feeling the vibe, go ahead and show us some love. Tap the screen, like, comment, but most importantly, I need you to share this out with someone who may need a little healing energy today. And if this is your first time here or you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that follow button. Subscribe to our channel so that way you're always tapped in when a new episode drops. I also want to personally invite you to check out our digital home at theselfcareclub.org, where you will find everything from affirmative apparel to motivational merch, as well as a ton of free resources to nourish your growth and remind you that you are supported every step of the way. Just know that you don't have to do this alone. We are healing in community, growing one breath, one moment, one day at a time. So today, I encourage you to give yourself permission to pause, reflect, and make space for peace, for growth, but most importantly, for you. And remember, if anything in today's episode hits home, be sure to drop a green heart in the chat. That is our community's way of saying I am healing, I am growing, and I am showing up for me. Now, let's get ready to breathe, reflect, and grow together. Today's conversation, I guess before we begin today's conversation, I want to offer a gentle heads up. I think that this conversation includes discussions around grief, loss, abuse, trauma, and emotional healing. So as always, I want you to feel free to pause, step away, or return when your spirit feels ready. In Room to Breathe, your well-being always comes first. Our episode today is for the woman who's been holding it together longer than she should have had to. For the one who survived what she never imagined and is now learning how to live beyond survival. Family, today I am joined by the amazing Tiffani Walter. She is an actress, a singer, a spiritual life coach, and y'all, so much more. But today we're not talking to those titles. We are talking to the woman, okay? The woman who had to survive, the woman who had to choose herself, the woman who is now learning to thrive on her own terms. Family, please help me welcome Tiffani Michele into the Room to Breathe. Hey, girl. Hey, girl.
And
we got Tiffani and Pup in the Room to Breathe.
And Buddy. This is Bud.
Hey, Buddy.
When he heard you, he was like, oh, I want to make my cameo.
Exactly. Hey, Buddy.
My emotional support animal, Mr. Bud.
Hi, Buddy. Yes. Yes.
Right.
And so Tiffani, here in Room to Breathe, before we get into the story, we always like to do a soul check-in. Yeah. So I am going to start by asking you, how is your spirit doing today, beautiful?
Oh, my spirit is amazing.
Yes.
I am in such a great space. It is a new year, as they say, new year, new you. I am in such a vibrant energy. I am 1 week away from my birthday. So I just feel amazing. I really,
yes.
My heart is in the right place today.
Yes. I am so happy to hear that because, honey, life done been life in us, okay? And we decided in 2026, we're not new year, new me. It's new year, true me.
Oh, I love it.
Girl, take the prove me. I see you over there minding
You
your
see,
mental.
you see, I have listen. I'm minding my mental. I'm not minding my
Period.
mental today.
Yes, exactly. Look at that little shameless plug. I didn't. Mm,
You see that? You see that? They say, hey,
yes.
hey.
Thank you. And so much for being here and willing to share your story with the Room to Breathe family. I know that it is going to be a blessing to so many people. And I can say that before we even begin because you have been such a blessing to me ever since the moment our paths have crossed. You know, y'all, Tiffani is one of my life coaches, y'all, and has truly blessed me over these last few years of us, you know, being in each other's lives. And so I am happy to finally get to share her with y'all because y'all been missing out. Like, and y'all might as well get used to us because we have fun together. Okay.
We really do.
So but okay, let's be professional. Let's stay on topic, right? And what do you say? NC.
Insane.
Exactly.
Action.
So so before we look back, I want to seriously stay like grounded in this moment right here and who you are now. Not who you had to be to survive, not, you know, who the world expected you to become, but who you are in this moment. And I think that, you know, it's very important for us to have these grounding moments to remind us that we are safe now, we are supported now, and we're no longer those old chapters. So I'm going to have you start by telling us, who is Tiffani Michele in this current season of life, beyond survival, beyond the titles, and beyond the losses?
Oh my gosh. Tiffani Michele Walter, which is my actual birth name. Who am I today? I am love. I am love. I am peace. I am serenity. That is who I am. It took me a while to get here. It took me a minute to be able to be in this safe space of thriving and not surviving. You know, being in the space where and we talked about this, and we've done some streams together where we talked about being in spaces or removing ourselves from spaces where we're just tolerated, right?
Yeah.
And so I can truly say that I am in an amazing space, head, heart, and mind, you know, mind, soul. I'm in a great space right now. But it took a lot of therapy, you know, counseling, and a whole lot of prayer to get to this. Yeah.
So as you sit with this version of yourself, when you look at who you've become, what are you most proud of? And I don't mean, you know, what you endured, but how you chose to keep going.
I think for me, I'm most proud of, truly, it is my spiritual connection. I am a very bold person when it comes to my spirituality. I am truly a kingdom kid. So it took my big God, my pops, to really help me and ground and center me. So I think for me, it is truly my spiritual journey that has kept me grounded, that has kept me sane in more ways than not. And understanding that when it is all said and done, my faith, that faith is what was sustaining for me. My belief that at the end of the day, there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. There is always always going to be something positive, even in the midst of storm, even in the midst of drama, even in the midst of pain. there is always some level of positive that is going to come out, and understanding that I truly had to be accountable for myself. That oftentimes, we get into this space where we blame everybody else, but we have to look at ourselves as the common denominator in things, and being accountable for ourselves, and accepting the space that we are in, accepting who we are in that moment, but not sitting in it. And so I am proud to know that I have been able to put away some of those traumas. We talk about healing and say, and very easy to be like, oh, I'm healed and I've gone through. And I think healing happens every day. You are never totally or fully healed, when it comes to matters of the heart or matters of the, you're not ever fully healed, but I am in a healing space, or I am thriving in a healed space.
Absolutely. No, and that makes perfect sense. That you're right. A lot of people are always saying, "Oh, I'm healed." And I'm like, "You silly rabbit. Like, you are healing. Okay? As long as you are still breathing, you are healing." And I think that it's important to understand, where you are now. We have to gently honor what you've carried. So much grief that we experience in life is invisible. So much survival happens quietly without witnesses, right? And when loss stacks up year after year, it doesn't just impact your heart, it really reshapes your entire nervous system, your identity, and the way you move through the world. Right. And so I know that you went through several life altering losses over a span of just a few years, each one arriving before you truly had time to even grieve the last one. Yes. And so if you're comfortable, I love for you to gently walk us through that season, the divorce, the loss of your daughter, passing of your father who raped, like all of these things that have happened, and share how living through those losses back to back shaped you, not just emotionally, but in how you saw yourself in life.
Absolutely. Yes. So my journey has not been one that I would say is easy. And of course, everybody says, oh, no one's journey is easy, but my journey truly has been one of true resilience. As life coach has already said, I had gotten married, and not going to speak really negatively about my now ex-husband, but I will be very and brutally honest with the fact that it was a very traumatic experience. I'd say I am a survivor of domestic violence. And for whatever reason or not, understanding that that mental health is absolutely important. And oftentimes we find ourselves in circumstances and situations with individuals who have not dealt with their mental health and has not dealt with the intricacies of ensuring that they are chemically balanced, right? And so, unfortunately, the demise of my marriage was due in part to that reason. I went through a domestic violence situation and was able to get out of that situation. Thank God, on this side of earth. Very traumatic experience. So went through the divorce or officially after getting out of the criminal case, because there was a criminal case that was involved, dealing with the criminal case. So I ended up staying married to this individual a little bit longer than I had anticipated, because there was the criminal case. So there was a criminal case, and then we went through the civil case. So civilly, I was able to part ways and get my divorce in 2018. I am the mother of an amazing, or was the mother of an amazing daughter, who had a very challenging uh, health diagnosis. My daughter, Michaela, who was an absolutely pure spirit, beautiful child, she was born with a rare genetic disorder called Prader-Willi syndrome. And in essence, what that genetic disorder was, that people who suffer from it, they often have an insatiable hunger, meaning that their brain never tells them that they are full. And so what ended up happening was, she was born, so she became morbidly obese, but it was not of choice. It was because her body, unfortunately, was unable to metabolically, or having metabolism to break down foods the way that we normally do. So there are other inherent medical challenges that come along with that. And some of those medical challenges was, the enlarged heart, and having congestive heart failure. She was diabetic, things of that nature, but all of which was a result of her having this initial diagnosis, and having doctors tell you that, hey, if your child can survive longer than age 6, that's a blessing. So we used to have milestones of her birth, because we did not think that she was going to survive and live as long as she did. It was a blessing for her to stay with us until she was 21 years old. And she sudden, and I want to say it was sudden, but it really wasn't kind of sudden, because it was one of those things where there was always this expectation that it could happen, that she would pass. And so she passed away in 2019. So divorce, 2018, a divorce that was due to domestic violence. 2019, I lose my baby. All right. So then I went on this search to try to identify who my biological father is, and who he was, and find out right at the point of my being able to make the connection to him, that he passed away from COVID in 2020. So 2018, 2019. Find out who my biological father is. Find out he passes away in 2020. Now let's go to 2021. The man who raised me, amazing man, who not only loved me and supported my daughter, he was the apple of my daughter's eye. Literally, he passes away suddenly from cancer in 2021. And it was like, we found out that he had the diagnosis in August. He was gone in 6 weeks. So we didn't really have a true chance to even say goodbye to him. So I sustained literally back to back losses. And I've told this story to Life Coach, that my hometown, I am originally from Savannah, Georgia. I felt like I was dying myself, by staying in my hometown. And it was, in my shift, I now live in the metro Atlanta area. It was my shift to moving. And I had to move, because if I didn't move, I was going to lose my mind. But even in the midst of that, I'm an only child. So understanding that my mom, I was her lifeline. And so I had to sever myself so that I can, so that I can thrive, and so that I can live. I had to sever myself by leaving my mom, who was grieving the loss of her husband, and and her granddaughter, who she practically raised, and then losing me as her only child, and I leave her. So it was just loss and grief, and back to back to back to back to back. But just as as we say, if you are a swimmer and you've ever been in situations of working as a lifeguard, they always say, the best thing for you to do is try to save yourself first. And
Yeah.
and so I had to save me. And so hence going through all of those things, that's where I am now in understanding. So I have truly been on a spiritual journey now for the last 3, 4, I would say really 5 years solid of just really trying to get into this headspace.
Yeah. And the thing about grief is that it doesn't just take people, right? It shapes identity. It changes how you see yourself, how you move through the world, and even how safe life feels in your body.
Mhm.
When loss happens back to back, you don't just mourn who you lost, you mourn who you were before everything changed, and, the life that you were living. And that kind of grief, I think, often goes unnamed, even though it's just as real. How did losing not just loved ones, but versions of your life and your sense of self, how did that change the way you saw yourself as a woman?
Oh, great question. I think for me, again, I always talk about self accountability, and for me, it was truly reconciling with myself that in order for me to live, I had to shed pieces of me that I was once comfortable with.
Yeah.
Yes, there was a physical separation of people, right? People died, people left. But to your point, there was pieces of me that also had to die, that also
Yeah.
had to be shed in order for me. And when I think about if for anybody who knows me, they know that I have a green thumb, and I absolutely love planting and gardening. And if you
Yeah.
notice that there are some plants, they go dormant at certain points of the year, and they shed all of their leaves, they shed everything, but the root of who they are still remains. And it is that root is the shedding. You got to prune, you have to prune certain trees, or you have to prune certain bushes. You have to cut away or sever those pieces of that plant in order for it to grow again.
Right.
And so I equate my life to that, to being that same way. Like I literally had to sever, while there are pieces, and when we always want to be selfish, right? We want our people, we want our individuals, our loved ones to live forever.
Right.
We want to think that we are going to be who we are going to be, and we're going to remain the same forever, and we are not. We are ever evolving, right? Life is an evolution, it is a cycle. And so and you have seasons. And so I had to understand that I went through a season of my winter. That was my winter. And
Mm-hmm.
and now, thank God, understanding and reconciling with that, now I am in my spring. But I had to sit with myself and realize that I had to go through that process in order to be who I am now. Um, was it easy? Absolutely not. I had to read, I had to self-reflect. Sometimes I had to sit and I was angry with me. I was angry with life. I would be lying if I didn't say that I even questioned God a time or two.
Yeah.
I was mad at God for, like, God, I'm a good person. I'm a solid person. I'm nice. I treat people right. Why me? And when we go through this process of saying, well, why not you? And I realized, and once I got to a point where I understood that, truly the scripture that says, God will never put more on us than we can bear. And sometimes you like, now wait a minute now I didn't sign up for this, but I
Right.
realized that it was that he had to put it on me so that I can be a testimony to others who may not have the same level of resilience that I have, but I can
Yeah.
be of encouragement to others, to get them through, to help them through this time that's challenging, that's difficult. And hence that even started my journey of even becoming a life coach as a result of what I went through in the transformation, which is why I'm certified transformational coach, like transforming your mindset that no matter how ugly this situation looks, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. There's always some sort of level of peace. There's always some level of assurance that will come. You just got to sit through it. And that's what I had to do. I just had to sit through it, work through it, cry when I needed to cry, be mad when I needed to be mad. But the piece of it all, and what I can encourage anybody to say, don't sit in that energy. You got to evolve out of that energy. You got to get to the next level. And the next level is understanding, being okay with being in the space that you're in. It's okay accepting where you are, but also accepting the fact that I don't want to stay in this space.
Yeah. And, and at some point, I think that survival forces all of us to make hard choices, right?
Yes.
Not because we're ready, not because they feel good, but because staying the same would cost us more than leaving.
Yes.
And I think that these are the choices that nobody prepares us for.
Right.
The ones that come with the mixed emotions, the unanswered questions, that quiet kind of courage. And, often they're made not from strength, but from necessity. I know you had mentioned your decision to move to Atlanta as a part of your healing. What emotions surfaced around leaving, especially, the guilt tied to having to choose yourself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, guilt absolutely was number one. But I even, when I mentioned to you before when we were originally talking, grieving that life that I had, like I literally had to go through that grief process as well. Fear of starting over, the fear of the unknown, right? The fear of the what ifs. And so it was a lot. It was a mixture of emotions, but I always held true. Again, I'm such a positive person. I held true to the, well, what not? What if this does work? Right. If I don't do this, then what? And so I held on to that hope, that glimmer of hope. And, when you talk about, just having that faith the size of a mustard seed. And I don't know if anybody has ever seen a mustard seed, but it is literally the smallest thing that you could ever see. It is like a little speck. And just having just an ounce, an inkling of faith, of hope that this will work out. And, and then understanding and being okay with realizing that, okay, and if it doesn't, it's okay. If it didn't work out, it's okay. And knowing that I still had a place to return to. And I think sometimes people don't believe, or they don't think that they have an opportunity to return back. Right. And so yeah, for me, it was the, that guilt of leaving my mama, who was also grieving, and dealing with her level of grief, the fear of the unknown. What if this doesn't work? What if I'm making a wrong choice, a wrong decision? But holding on to that inkling of faith, the holding on to that inkling of hope that it was going to work out. And I do not regret my decision, because life literally blossomed and bloomed doing that. And I am, I'm reminded of, again, I'm a spiritual girl. There's so many stories throughout the Bible where God has told his chosen, you need to leave, you need to leave home. You have, you have the Jobs, you have the Jonahs, you have so many throughout the Bible. You have the Moses, and you have so many people where God just said, leave. And if you leave, if you trust me, I'm gonna make sure that you're good. I'm gonna make sure that you're safe. You will be able to receive the promise. And so I held on to those beliefs, and he hasn't let me down yet.
Yeah. And so looking back now, what truth do you wish that someone had spoken to you sooner when it comes to that, loyalty, boundaries, and survival?
Mm, mm. The truth for me is that I wish I would have believed that I am bigger than my circumstance a lot.
Mm,
Oftentimes, and particularly, and it probably happens in all communities, but particularly in the Black home, the African American family, we are often led to believe that what is what will be.
yeah.
Where we are, that's what it is, and you got to just accept it. Just this is what it is, and
Yeah.
for me, it is understanding. And I wish I would have learned this or knew this, that I am not, I'm not held to my current circumstances. There is so much more to who you are as a person. There is so much more to your surroundings, and there is such a large world. We live in such a big world, and so we are not bound to whatever we're going through in the moment, or wherever we are in the moment. We absolutely have the ability to go and do and be far beyond our current circumstance. And so I wish I would have known that or learned that a lot sooner, because I probably would not have held myself hostage in an environment that I didn't have to be held hostage to. And so if I can encourage anybody, that I would say that you are bigger than your current circumstance. So as bleak, as ugly, as destitute as it may look right now, you are bigger than that. The world is bigger than what you currently see. You just got to step out on faith. Step out on understanding and believing in you. Believing in you, because oftentimes, especially those who are dreamers, because we got a lot of dreamers out here, right? Dreamers, we have a lot of creators, we have a lot of, oftentimes when you in you home, you don't get the same love that you get at home than you get from strangers.
Right.
Unfortunately, I don't know why it's like that, but it's like that. And it's biblical. It's biblical, right? It's in the Bible. You can see the stories. A lot of times you're gonna get more love when you step out. So I would encourage anybody, those dreamers, those creators, those entrepreneurs, wherever you are, step out of your comfort zone and being okay with being uncomfortable. Because one thing that I know about being uncomfortable, it forces you to act. It forces you to make a decision. When you're uncomfortable, it positions you to have to move. And that's what I encourage anybody to do. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, survival keeps us alive, but thriving asks us to live. And, it asks us to imagine more than getting through today, more than bracing ourselves for the next hit, or, thriving invites us to soften, right? To hope again, to believe that life can hold joy alongside the pain that we've always known.
Mm-hmm.
And, after trauma, I think that invitation can feel both beautiful and terrifying at the same time. When did you realize that survival alone wasn't enough anymore?
I think for me, it was, I would be remiss if I did not credit, and I'm gonna try to get through this without crying, getting emotional, but I have a good girlfriend. She is also my sorority sister, who is actually from my hometown. And she's here in Metro Atlanta. And she literally used to speak life into me every day. And I don't even think that she even realized that she would do it. Her name is Randy Pinckney Green. Amazing. She's a board certified nurse practitioner. She's amazing. She just opened up her own practice here in Metro Atlanta. I go to her with for all of my medical needs.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's amazing. But Brandy would remind me, she would say, Tiffani, you are so much bigger than Savannah. Like, because she's my girl. So she's Tiffani, you are so much bigger than Savannah. And I would always doubt my talents. I would always doubt my, the gifts that God gave me. And in my mind, this was good enough. And it was her telling me, you are more than just being good enough. You're great. Yeah. You're great.
Yeah.
You're great. You're exceptional. And so what she would do, literally, she would make me come up to Atlanta and host events for her. She would make me come to Atlanta to sing for her. She would always connect me to people who she knew in the industry, a lot of different, she would just do things, and she would say, okay, all right, Tiffani, we're going to do this, and you're going to come up here, you're going to do it. And so she did. And I know now, I know it was intentional, but then I was just like, oh my gosh, she's asked me to do something again. I don't feel like, and so, so she would put me in this space that made me understand that I was bigger than just being at home. And so for me, when I realized that survival, I had to be more than just surviving, was understanding that there was somebody who was willing to pour into me, and she gave me life. And sometimes it only takes that one person, that one situation, that one circumstance. And her daughter, who is a very talented young lady, that's my baby. I tell this story, and Brandy's mom, we all laugh that her daughter, we were very, very close, and we would always be on FaceTime throughout COVID or whatever. I would get on and we would do vocal, I would sing with her, and we would do some makeup on the phone together. And her daughter said, Auntie Tiffani, why don't you move here to Atlanta? And I said, and I remember telling her, I said, well, baby girl, I can't move to Atlanta because I don't have a job. And so I get tickled every time I tell the story. She said, well, my mommy and daddy give to charity all the time. You can just stay with us. And
that baby said, no excuses. Come on.
Excuses, because this baby is telling me that her parents give to charity and I can stay in their house. And so it was after I had that conversation with this baby. And so the going joke in the family is that my name is Charity. So my other name is Charity. Her mom, my friend's mom, Mama Rose, I love her so much. She still, her and her husband, they still call me Charity. So they used to call me Charity. So that's kind of the going joke. But that is what catapulted me to move here. And I am so blessed and so grateful that I did it. But going back to the original question, for me, survival was not enough when I was exposed to more. I was exposed to something bigger than. I was exposed to something greater. So for those who may not have that one person to do that for them, or that to offer that hand, because everybody doesn't always have the same level of experience that I did. But we are in an age of social media. We, the TikToks and the Instagrams and the YouTubes, we can find out, see, and do and connect to anybody all over this world. So even if it's not someone that you personally know, if it's something that you're good at and it's something that you want to do, and you know that you are limited in where you are to be able to do it, connect with those people. Find your village, find your tribe, find your village. Your village might not be at home. Your village might be in Costa Rica. Your village might be in Botswana. Your village might be in Brazil. You find your village, find your tribe, Our, that's the blessing of social media and where we are, technology. We have the capabilities of connecting, and allow those people to pour into you, allow those people to love on you, allow those people to speak life into you. And that's what's going to help you understand that you are bigger than your circumstance. That that's what's going to help you understand that you don't have to just survive. You can thrive. You can live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about thriving is that, I try to tell people that it can feel unfamiliar after trauma, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you've spent so long in survival mode, peace starts to feel suspicious and ease feels undeserved. Your body may still be bracing for what's next, especially people who have, gone through domestic abuse, right? We are simply waiting for that next shoe to drop. Even when nothing's wrong. And so learning how to thrive isn't about rushing into happiness. It's about slowly trusting that you are allowed to live without that constant defense.
Yes.
And so I want to give you an opportunity to share, what did thriving not look like for you? And how did you start redefining it on your own terms?
Thriving for me did not look like social norms that are put out. Oftentimes we get into spaces where, and this is the bad side of social media. I'll say this. This is kind of the ugly side of social media. Oftentimes we find ourselves looking at reels and threads or YouTube videos, and we attach our happiness or our experience to what we see.
Yeah.
I had to realize that I am not them. My level of thriving, my level of experience is not what I am looking at on here. It is not defined by that. It is it may be an example of what is to come or an example of what could be, but it is not me. Case in point, I've had this conversation and I talk about it all the time. I know that I'm a wife. I want to be, I have a desire to be married, right? But I tell people I want to be a wife. I don't want to just be married because, a lot of times, because there's a distinction between wanting to be a wife or a husband versus wanting to be married. To me, if you just want to be married, you are connected to the image, right? You're connected to what you see. You're the pomp and circumstance, the celebration, the wedding ceremonies, the ceremonial part of marriage, right?
Right.
But wanting to be a wife or wanting to be a husband is that every day I choose, me personally, choose to give of myself, to sacrifice of myself so that I can truly love and care for this person who I am partnered with, that I purposely choose to do everything in my wheelhouse to ensure that we are equally happy, that we are equally satisfied, that we equally feel seen, that we equally feel loved. So for me, everybody know, people in my village, they know that I want to be in this space. But I can't look at social media and I see all of the engagements and the proposals and all of this thing like, oh, well, when is it going to happen for me? And oh, my God, is that? And so oftentimes, in that space, we see what we see on social media because we have a desire for it. And then we think that we are less than, or we are not as good as, if we do not experience what we see.
Right.
And so for me, across the board, even with thriving, I had to realize that, that just because that's an image, that's not my image. That's not me. That's not me. Mm-hmm. And so what does defining me look like? What does that definition look like for me? And that is, again, that's going back to that same mindset of the difference between wanting to be married and being a wife is, so for me, I had to choose me, right? I had to, every day I wake up, I see me, and I say, today, I'm just going to give 1% more
Yeah.
to sow into me. And when you get into that space where you truly just look, you can truly look at yourself and you like yourself, like you literally like yourself. Like, I like being by myself. I like hanging out with myself. I like loving on myself. And why I love you so much for your platform with self-care. Like, it is so critical. It's so important. Can you sit in a space? Can you sit and be alone with you and actually like you? It starts there. If you can sit and you can love on you and you like yourself, you love yourself, whether you have someone or not, whether you have the job that you want or not, whether you are if it's a creative space, whether you're doing that or not, can you just sit with you and enjoy you? Start and every day build just block by block by, it's brick by brick. You know, Rome was not built in a day. There's a reason why we say that term, because it wasn't, you know. So nor was our life. Our lives were not just, you know, every day, every experience that we go to, that adds another brick to who we are. And so for me, understanding that and intentionally choosing me is what has me in this space.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I think that sometimes healing shows up when we stop holding everything inside. Right. When we I'm very big and intentional on healing out loud, you know, similar to your story of how, you know, you started life coaching. I shared that, you know, me going through a dark season in my life is what led me to even being on social media during the pandemic. I thought I was here to teach the girls how to do their nails during the pandemic, but God had another plan for that. He was like, well, she's comfortable with the nails, and so we're going to give her that. But it's going to be the conversations. It's going to be the self-care. And as I learned about my own self-care and I learned how to pour back into me and fill my cup up while being the wife and the mother and all the other things, you know, all the other titles that we carry, I started speaking my truth, you know, and just started sharing my experience with people. And I started realizing that a lot of people were like me too, or people had a lot of questions about self-care. And I'm like, oh, I can answer that question because I just found that out last week, you know? And so it was just like, oh, I'm a living, breathing, walking, talking testimony to the fact that you can have it all. You can be a wife and you can be a mom and you can be an actress and a life coach and a singer and all these things while still showing up for yourself and while still choosing to say, hey, I am a wife. I know I'm a wife. I may not be married yet. You know, my Boaz may not have revealed himself yet, but honey, I am still she. Okay. And so again, I think that healing often shows up when we stop holding everything in, when we really start speaking it out. What is it? From our mouth to God's ears, you know? And you shared, you know, that telling, you've shared that by telling your story. And I think that that is now a part of your healing, like an additional part. And so what shifted when you allowed your voice to actually take up space? Like when you decided to give yourself the space to speak your truth?
I adopted this saying that it is okay to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. It is okay. Oftentimes, the reason why we keep things to ourselves, we don't share, because we're in our comfort zone. And I've learned to embrace stepping outside of my comfort zone. I became okay, as ugly, as dark as it may seem. I had to understand, and just like you said, once you started sharing, you realize I'm not on this island by myself.
Exactly.
There are other people who it may not be the exact same situation, and then sometimes it is. Like they experience this too, And oftentimes we get into this space, and I am one of these people, because I'm very guarded, because I don't like, I'm a real guarded person. I don't allow a whole lot of people in to really see me, right? You got to be in the circle. But what I realized in being that way is oftentimes the reason why we don't reveal is because there's a level of embarrassment in sharing. This person on the surface, they got it all together. And now I am exposing myself to the world that I don't have it all together. I don't have it all figured out. And so oftentimes I feel like that's why there's a level of association, because you don't want to expose yourself to the real truth that you are human. But I'm not a superhero. I'm not superhuman, right? I have some qualities. I have some talents, some gifts that may seem superheroic, right? But the total embodiment of me is not that. And even if we did want to go and think about the even if we did want to use that superhero mentality, if you look at every single superhero, whether it's Marvel or what was the other people, what whoever it is, Batman, Spider-Man, Superman, whomever, the Hulk, everybody, even with their superheroic qualities, they still had an underlying issue.
Right. Everybody got a weakness.
All of them had a weakness.
Yeah.
What was what's your kryptonite, right?
Exactly.
And so understanding that and really setting my mind to say, I'm not perfect. I strive to live and walk in imperfection, but I will never be perfect. And so it's okay for me to share those imperfections with others, because that brings the human quality of who I am. That brings the human quality of who you are.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, we all out here, tripping with no map sometimes, right? Like we just going through it all the time. And so, and with everything that now and all the tools that you have in your bag in this moment right now, how are you learning to trust yourself when the path isn't clear, but the destination feels right? You like, hold on, give me a minute. It's such a good question. Like, I literally thought about this myself, because I'm like, we all out here tripping with no map. Like, I mean, we have some instructions. I mean, don't get me wrong. The good book is the great, book of instructions, but there's still a lot to be determined. And so it's like the destination feels good, but I don't really know about this route or that one either. So how are you learning to trust yourself?
I literally, just as using that same analogy of the route or the journey, I have learned to embrace enjoying the journey. Oftentimes when you get rerouted, right? You think about it, like you have your GPS set, right? And you're trying to get to this particular destination, and you got it planned out. Here's the amount of time that it's going to take for me to get here. And then womp, there's this accident. Right. Or there's road construction. And now that GPS now reroutes you a completely different way. You got to go somewhere else. It completely reroutes you. But the thing is that oftentimes when we get rerouted, we typically get rerouted the scenic route. Mm-hmm. And when you're rerouted on the scenic route, you start to discover places and things that you may not have ever discovered or that you may not have ever seen before. Right. And so life is the same exact way. We oftentimes, if you really want to make God laugh, you tell him what your plans are, right? You tell him what your plans are. And he gonna laugh and he gonna be like, okay, but I'm gonna do it this way, right? And so, but enjoying the journey, that no matter what, we have to just embrace the path that we are on, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent. And so I have just purposely tried to understand that sometimes in life we have to take the scenic route.
Yeah.
I am less concerned about the journey now and more concerned with the fact that I just got there to my destination.
Yeah, absolutely. And and I love that because oftentimes life is always moving so fast. We're
Yes.
always, going through and doing the
Yes.
most. And so I think that we forget to stop and smell the roses. Like, I think that
Yes.
we forget to
We
live
do.
in this moment.
We do.
Because we're so focused on, well, let me worry about tomorrow. And then in the same breath we say tomorrow's not promised. We're worried about it for it in. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's focus in this moment. Let's understand this moment. And that honestly is like the whole basis even surrounding Room to Breathe, right? Like, in my healing journey, I just wanted room, just the permission, just the space to breathe, just to exhale and be like, because like that's so key when you've gone through life in that survival mode, when you've made it through so much. Like, if you think about it, to date, we have 100% survived all the things that were meant to destroy us. So let's just take a moment and enjoy the room that we have to just breathe, because it could have been a coffin. You could have been trying to figure out how to get your next breath there. I don't know how that works out. And I will find out one day. But in this moment, I'm just going to be thankful and grateful for that room to breathe. And, like I said, even, with just the name of the whole project, it's more than space, right? It's the permission, that permission to slow down, to exhale, to stop bracing for what's next.
Yes.
It's about having an emotional and spiritual room to be honest with yourself, to feel without rushing to fix things, and to honestly just exist without constantly explaining or performing.
Yes.
And I think that kind of room changes everything. So what does that mean to you now, emotionally, spiritually, and every day in your life? What is your room to breathe mean to you now?
My room to breathe means to me now that, number one, life is extremely precious and it is fragile, right? And while precious and fragile it is, that's why we truly need to hold on to every moment that we have of it, and utilize it and love on it and nurture it as much as we can. I did not understand that until I went through the levels of grief that I went through, of losing people that, in my mind, of course, we know that they're not going to live forever, but you really don't want to think that they're going to leave, right? And so understanding that life is fragile, life is precious, I'm going to live it to the fullest. And so for me, my room to breathe is embracing my indifferences, embracing my quirkiness, embracing my embracing even the things that I am great at, right? Embracing it and understanding that all of these things is what makes my life, right? It is those quirky things. It is those talents. It is the nuances or the dislikes. All of that is what makes me who I am. And until you really embrace that, you're not going to give yourself permission to breathe. You got to embrace all of you from head to toe.
Absolutely. All of those perfect imperfections. You got to love them.
Imperfections. Got to love them.
Yeah. So as we begin to close, For the woman who's listening, who's still in her survival mode, what reminder do you want to leave her with today?
My reminder is simple as this: you are bigger than your circumstance. You are bigger than the place that you are in currently. And as long as you see yourself as bigger than, you have the opportunity to embrace this even bigger world. If you don't have your current tribe or the current place that you are in, the current space that you are in is not befitting of who you want to become, identify the people, choose the people who will do that for you. That's it.
Absolutely. Amen. Girl, mic drop. Tiff, I thank you so much, not just for sharing your story, but, for sharing it with such honesty and care and courage. I think that your willingness to speak your truth creates space for so many others to breathe through theirs.
Yes.
As we close out, for those who have connected with your story today and want to continue walking alongside you, how can they support you, stay connected and learn more about the projects? And oh God, please tell them about the projects, because I told y'all, Miss Ma'am is an actress, a singer, like she is all of these things. So I want to give you, the floor to highlight, some projects that you have going on and where they can, stay connected with you. And just all the things. Tell them about all things.
So much. So definitely follow me on my socials. They are running down at the bottom. But if you are an Instagram person, definitely follow me. It is I am Tiffani Michele. That's probably going to be the best place for you to get all of the amazing things that I'm doing and get a glimpse of my life. But also I have my website, which is IamTiffaniMichele.com. That is my blog spot. So if you want to get that life coaching and get that opportunity just to be empowered and uplifted, that's where you want to go. But you can also follow me. I have so many movies on Tubi, Peacock, Netflix. I'm everywhere. So if you want to find more about me, you could just Google my name, either Tiffani Michele, or you can put Tiffani with the Y, Walter. And if you Google me, I promise you will find some of my projects, whether it be on YouTube, whether it be on Tubi, BET, wherever it is. But make sure, no matter what, that if you want to stay connected to me, I am definitely approachable. So send me a DM, send me an email. I am TiffaniMichele@gmail.com. I promise you I will respond back to you. Peace and blessings.
Now, that's cute. I like how you thought you was done. Yeah, but there's a certain movie on Prime that you forgot to talk about.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I'm going to give you the floor again, but I think that, we need to also talk about this movie that's out.
Okay. So I have a lot of different projects that are happening, but my absolute one of the favorite projects is Vows and Vendettas. Yes. Starring none other than Maurice Leggett and Nyasha, Yvette. But I played the awesome role of Tasha in the movie. You can find that movie on Amazon Prime. We are piping up to do a part 2. So you got to go watch part 1 so that you can catch part 2. We're in the process of filming, or we will start filming that within the next couple of months. Great rom-com. I am the life of the party in the movie. I am the comic relief. I'm gonna give you a good laugh. So you go, truly my personality. I'm gonna give you a good laugh, and you're gonna have a good time with me, with my character. But again, that is just one of several that is out. But definitely check out Vows and Vendettas on Prime Video.
Yes. I'm like, where she thinks she going? We ain't done with you yet. But yeah, you guys, as always, we will make sure that we add all of Tiffani's links. Understand it's going to be a long description, okay? Because Tiff, she be out here doing doing all the things. Okay. But no, I really thank you so much for being here with us today, taking time out of your busy schedule, because my sis be staying booked and busy, and I love it for her.
And it is long overdue, though. It's long overdue. It's long overdue.
Yes. And, I'm thankful and grateful. It's been a minute since we sat down together. But I definitely look forward to any opportunity that you and I get to, connect. It's always a great experience. It's some laughs, it's some cries. It's, we go through all the things.
All the range of emotions.
Exactly. But I do sincerely appreciate you for being here with us today. And I look forward to all of the amazing projects that you have going on. I can't wait to sit down and watch the movie. So yeah, just thank you for being you. And, shout out to Randy for, putting all of this in motion. Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, family, if this conversation stirred something in you, don't rush past that. Sit with it. Breathe through it. Understand that healing doesn't always come with answers. Sometimes it just comes with permission. Permission to rest, permission to grieve, permission to choose yourself. Ultimately, permission to stop surviving and start thriving. And I hope that today is the permission that you need to choose you. Now, before we part ways, let me leave you all with a little love and light. As always, I encourage you to keep breathing through the highs, the lows, and every moment in between. I want you to keep choosing peace, even if it feels out of reach. And know that here at the Self-Care Club, you will always be seen, always valued, and always supported. So don't be afraid to take up space, speak your truth, and make a little room for you to breathe. I love each and every one of you to life, and I am praying that your day is not just amazing, but aligned, intentional, and yes, on purpose, filled with purpose. This has been another Room to Breathe podcast, and I cannot wait to connect with you all again soon. Thank you.